is that time of the year where many churches put on their own Christmas production. Little kids dress up as wise men, and of course, there's baby Jesus. But here at the Stone Church in Toronto, their Christmas production is taking on a little different turn as they explore the meaning of the season in a different way.
Christmas, 16-year-old mother, her son, unusual circumstances.
Why talk about the homeless, especially at this time?
Because it's not talked about. I think that's the main reason.
Romeo, director and writer of Born for This, Stone Church's Christmas production, set this year's Christmas scene not in a manger, but a homeless shelter. Based on the stories of 10 people impacted by their temporary housing, Romeo's hope is to get the audience thinking beyond themselves this season.
You know, I think we have this illusion that Christmas is always a happy time for people. I think it's probably the saddest time for a lot of people, particularly the homeless, who have, Christmas is home. You know, when I think of Christmas, I think of my family, dinner, nephews and nieces and brothers and sisters-in-laws and grandparents. That, homeless people don't have that. I mean, I think the biggest thing that they're lacking, and I think Born for This shows this as well, is that they're lacking community. They just want someone to connect with. And this play shows that. I mean, there is no baby Jesus in this, but again, he's alluded to throughout the whole thing in very symbolic ways, you know, and Mary as well. Very symbolic ways. It's all in there, but you really have to pay attention to it. So that's why I wanted to do it, because it's not the normal thing we do at Christmas time, and I think it will move people.
Inspired by the work the Stone Church does with homeless shelters in the area, Romeo says confirmation to tackle this topic really came after he heard a guest speaker talk about the issue of homelessness one Sunday morning.
It was Sunday, and wouldn't you know, a woman named Rachel from Sanctuary Church comes and speaks about the homeless. The things she was saying, I actually had put into my script. I wrote notes that day, and I went back and looked at the rough draft, and I thought, oh, wow. And I just felt like that was a confirmation, so I knew that I was on the right path once I heard her speak, and she was brilliant. Like, what she said that day inspired me even more, so that's basically how it came about. That's when I want the music to end.
And so with that inspiration in hand, Ciolfi says he wants to show the audience the possibilities all of us have within ourselves to affect change in our community, homeless or not.
Born for This is a play about how one person can change the world. And that one person can be a homeless person, can be anyone, particularly the homeless, because that's what it sort of centers around. How can they make a difference? And can they make a difference? That's the other question too. Can they actually make a difference in someone's life? And I hope with this play we show that in some way, wrapped around the Christmas message.
Play it more out here. Okay?
Writing has been a passion for Ciolfi since he was a child, committing each of his summers to creating stories. He would joyfully bring them to life on stage. But this year's commission to write and direct the church Christmas play came at a significantly hard time in his life.
My father passed away just before I started writing this. So the first week of trying to write this, I spent days in this sort of fog of getting through his death, but also trying to form a plot. I spent many days just looking out the window, thinking and thinking. Writing is really about thinking, thinking, and thinking. And I'm a miserable person in the process.
But through this time of mourning, casting, and writing, Ciolfi says he knows God has been holding his hand through it all, assisting him in the process. One great example of this was the casting process of one of the homeless characters in the play. Little did Ciolfi know that he casted the part. Rob, the man chosen to play the role, had himself been homeless on and off for 6 years. What was it like living on the streets?
Oddly enough, it was very fearful, a lot of fear. But at the same time, you're so, I guess, okay with that fear.
For the rest of the cast, even though their lives may not have crossed parallel paths to that of their characters in the play, many of them say God has been teaching them a lot through their characters' storylines as they personally search for the meaning of Christmas.
So much of the time we get into the materialism of Christmas and gifts. And I'm learning through this show, it's not the material things that count. It's the relationships again that are so important. And just being able to share a relationship with your mom or your dad or your sisters or brothers, it's very rich and touching. So yeah, we're going to touch a lot of lives, and I'm really happy about that.
At my school, I want to invite all my friends to come, and they're not Christians, right? So the first thing that comes to my mind, they're like, oh, so are you playing Mary? And I'm like, no, it's not a nativity scene. It's a really cool play. I think what makes it different is that the characters in it, the people, they're so real. Like, people coming in to see the play, I feel like they'll be able to relate to the characters. There's just a sense of truth in all of their lives.
Hey folks, can I help you?
And it's that truth and hope that ultimately Romeo Ciolfi wants the audience to take away at the end of the night as well.
I love looking at the past, in terms of your past and where you've come from, where you're going, and then what does that mean in terms of your future? So it's always about hope, providing hope for people. That's what I want them to mainly come away with, that there's an idea of hope there.
My mom told me that one person can change the world.
Born for This will be running this weekend at the Stone Church in Toronto. Visit our website for further information and showtimes. In Toronto, Ontario, Magdalene John, 100 Huntley Street.